Hi guys, I just want to come on here and make a video kind of expanding on what we know about quadratics. A couple weeks ago when we were in class we talked about standard form and vertex form. We tested on vertex form yesterday or last week or whenever you took it, I don't know. And so what I'm going to do is really expand on that information that we learned. So quadratic again is a parabola. It either goes like a smiley face or a frowny face, okay? And we have three forms that we use when solving for quadratics. The first form that we talked about last week is standard form, y equals some ax squared plus bx plus c. We worked on that. A is our letter in front of our x squared, our b is in front of our x, and our c is our constant. No variable behind it. There are a couple of things that we can solve when using standard form. We can solve for our axis of symmetry, which in this case is given by the equation opposite of b over, let's go, opposite of b over 2a. So in this case, for this equation right here, our axis of symmetry is given by the opposite of b, which is 6 over 2 times my 1. My axis of symmetry is my 3 when I solve that through. So my axis of symmetry is going to be somewhere on, that's not 3, x equals 3. So 1, 2, 3, right over here. Okay. After we find our axis of symmetry, to find our vertex, we plug a of s into our equation up here. Okay, so we get 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 8. When we do that math, our vertex is at the point 3, negative 1. So I'm going to come over here on my axis of symmetry and I'm going to mark my vertex. Let's do it. My vertex is right there at 3, 1. Okay. We can tell what our direction is by our a value. So our direction is determined by a. Okay, determined by a. A is positive in this case, so it's going up. And the last thing that we can tell from standard form, just looking at it, is our y-intercept, and that's always going to be our c value. So looking at our y-intercept up here, our c is equal to 8. So I'm going to come over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So our y value is going to be up here. What happens to my one side happens to my other. So that's over 2, 3, right there. Perfect. Awesome. Another form that we can use is called intercept form. So this talks about where it crosses my x-axis, the x-intercept. So where it crosses my x-axis, and that is in this form. I'm going to tell you that this is the exact same thing as this. Okay? To find my x-intercepts, what we need to do is actually solve for these. So I'm going to use the color, and I'm going to solve for these. So if I have x minus 2 equals 0, I get x is equal to 2 for one of my answers. We always set it equal to 0 because that's when this is actually equal to y. And when we are on our x-axis, our y is 0, right? We're not up any, we're not down any, we're actually 0. So 2 is an x-intercept, so I'm going to mark that right there. And I'm going to come over here, and the answer to this one, just do the opposite, what's in the middle. You do 4. So those are 2 points of my vertices. Again, this and this is the same thing. All I did was factor this into this form. Okay? The last thing that we talk about is vertex form. Again, this is the exact same thing as this equation up here. Okay? So to find vertex of this, it's always my HK, which we talked about last week. We should be familiar with this. So my vertex of this is 3, negative 1. which we've already identified right here. Perfect, good to go. My axis of symmetry is always my h, which in this case is 3. We've already identified that. And the direction, again, is the sign of my A. My A here is 1, that's positive, so it's going to go up. So now all I need to do is graph my points. So I'm just going to come here, connect my points. I'm able to graph. So using this information, we can graph any quadratic if we have it in standard form, intercept form, or vertex form. It's easy peasy like that. Okay. All right, what I want to do is emphasize that all those 3 equations were the exact same. Okay? So this first one is in standard form. This is the equation that we just saw on our paper, and that's given by this quadratic. Okay? We can also write quadratics in our intercept form, so where it crosses our x-axis. And you'll see if I click on that equation, it's the exact same parabola. Lastly, this equation right here is our vertex form. I just got rid of that 1 up front because 1 times anything is itself. And that is this form right here. So you can see any of these graphs are the exact same thing, and that we can graph them using that information. Okay? There are certain things that some equations look for than the other, like intercept form. Something like this only tells you what your x-axis or your x-intercepts are. So where it crosses. So here we know it crosses at 2 and at 4. Boom, boom. Perfect. That's what that tells you. Vertex form tells you your vertex, your axis of symmetry, and direction. Your standard form tells you your vertex, your axis of symmetry, your direction, and your y-intercept, which our y-intercept is always our c value, which is 8. So I can come over here and see that 8 is definitely our c value. Do you see how these are all interchangeable? They're the same thing. So I can show you a graph, something like this, and I can ask you, okay, what is the axis of symmetry? What is the x-intercepts? What are the y-intercepts? And you should be able to then know which one of these equations is being used when looking at this graph. All right, so scrolling down to the bottom of your notes page, we have this equation. This is in our vertex form. So there's 3 things that we can find in our vertex form. Our vertex, our axis of symmetry, and our direction. And in this case, that's all we're going to need to know. Okay? So I'm going to come here. My vertex is my h and my k. My vertex of this one is my vertex is 2, -6. So I'm going to come over here and find it. 1, 2, and go down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is my vertex down there. My axis of symmetry is always my h value, so it's 2. Let's do that 2. There we go. And then our direction, this is a positive 1/2. So it's going to be going up because it's positive. And we know that because this is 1/2, it's going to be traveling super wide. We learned that last unit. So we're going to change this to be super wide. We can go for every something like this. And that's what we can graph from that information. You guys can't even see that. It's going to look something like that. Okay? This one over here, to solve this one, we need to know our axis of symmetry, our vertex, our direction, and our y-intercept. Okay? The easiest one to find is our y-intercept. This must be an addition sign. That looks like an addition sign. Okay? Our y-intercept is actually 6 over here, because that's our c value. Our axis of symmetry is always our opposite of b, so 4 over 2 times my a, which is -2, which gives me 4 over -4, so my axis of symmetry is at -1. So I'm going to come over here to -1, draw my axis of symmetry. Okay, I recommend writing your axis of symmetry every single time, that way you're not getting lost. And we knew that my x-axis, or my y-intercept was 6, so we have something up here at 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. What happens on one side happens on the other. Okay. My vertex, okay, I need to plug in this -1 into that equation. So I'm going to plug in -1. I'm going to do -2 times -1 squared minus 4 times -1 plus 6. -1 squared is +1. +1 times -2 is -2. Minus, or plus a 4, because -4 times -1 is positive, plus 6, so we get 8. So I'm going to come over here to -1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Up there for my vertex. And my direction is moving, I'll come down here, direction is down because my A, which is -2, is negative. So my direction is down, and that is my graph. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and see so you guys can see it a little better. Maybe, there we go. Oh, that works. All right, so these are the two things I want us to focus on this unit, or for this rest half of the unit, is we have 3 forms of vertex or of parabolas, and I want us to be able to graph like a pro in all 3 forms. And so that's what you guys are going to be practicing today and tomorrow. Okay, let's go. Good job. Good luck. Woohoo. I don't know. That's all I got.